Hey guys, it's Papa Nasty here, and today I'm doing a video about Lord of the Rings, Rise to War, where I'm going to be specifically talking about evil army setups in 2.0. I've put a date on this of February 2024, because I'm always learning new things, the meta's changing, and the developer's always fiddling with stuff. So I thought it'd be good to just have a date to sort of keep track of things. I'll probably do another video similar to this in a couple of months. Now, the really important thing to understand when building your army is about your different commander types and the stats that they use. So first off, we've got our physical direct damage commanders. This is like Lurtz, Exoc, and Shadow. They use commander damage as their primary stat, commander attack as their secondary stat, and they're countered by unit defense and command. So how the command will counter them is that command will reduce the amount of damage received by a unit by a fixed percentage. So when you've got about 500 command, I think it reduces your damage received by 33%. And how unit defense decreases the counters sort of physical direct damage is that the attack and defense stats interact with each other. If you have higher attack than they have defense, then you will do more damage. If they have higher defense than you have attack, then they will receive less damage. Now this is capped at around about plus 40 attack more than defense, and plus 40 more defense than attack. But in general, what it sort of means is that if you want to counter a physical direct damage commander, like say Dane or Björn or something, then the way to do it is that if you have really high command on your units and you have really high unit defense, then you can significantly reduce the amount of damage that someone like Dane or Björn does. But that's why usually when you look at the enemy sort of commanders, you'll see that they absolutely pimp out their Danes. They give them all maxed golds and whatnot. And the reason for that is because they know that how you counter them is by getting high unit defense. And so they really sort of raise the bar that in order to, if you want to counter their Dane, then you're going to need to have 200 or maybe 250, for a big whale, maybe 250 even, unit defense in order to sort of really counter their Dane. And that's, it's not necessarily easy to get stats that high, but I'm going to show you how to do that later in this video. Next, of course, we've got our focus direct damage commanders. So this is Skullhelm, Sestro, and Saruman. And they're going to use commander damage as their primary stat, focus as their secondary stat, and they're countered by focus and command. Command, again, is just reducing damage by a flat amount. And the focus, I'm not sure how focus actually, like how it specifically interacts in order to reduce damage, but it reduces damage. If you have Saruman and you hit Gandalf the White, Gandalf the White is going to receive a lot less damage than say Björn would when you hit Björn with of many colours. Anyway, the next type of commander that we've got are our troop commanders. Right, so we've got sort of Kirin here and Azru Kor. Witch King could maybe be added to this list as well. He's probably the next best. In general, Evil does not have a lot of good troop commanders. Good has a lot more better sort of troop commanders than what Evil does. But that's all right. It's just is what it is. But so they're mainly going to be using command and unit attack. They're going to be countered by unit defense and command. So troop commanders usually countered in exactly the same way as how you would counter physical direct damage commanders. In general, they're doing much the same thing as what physical direct damage commanders do, just they're doing it with troops instead of with their commander. The big difference though is that usually a troop commander will do less damage than a very sort of strong physical direct damage commander. But however, the troop commander is, because they've got a lot of command, in addition to dealing a lot of damage, because command will increase the amount of damage that troops do by a fixed percentage. The same fixed percentage is what it uses to reduce that damage from incoming attacks. So if you've got around 500 command, you will increase the damage that your units deal by about 33%, and you will decrease the amount of damage that you receive by about 33%. And so even though troop commanders don't necessarily hit as hard as direct damage commanders, they are, however, they've got this sort of extra defensive capability. They are not going to receive as much damage as what, say, a direct damage commander would. The direct damage commanders are, in many senses, a sort of glass cannon, where they hit really hard, but they're often very vulnerable. As many of you will have noticed with your, you'll often see that your shadow or your alerts is the first commander to die in combat, because they are the weakest usually, the weakest defensively. And then we come to our support commanders. Now, this is the main thing that I actually want to talk about in this video, because I feel that support commanders on Evil are very underutilized, and they're just, in general, they're just not used very well by most players. Okay, so your support commanders, here's the first sort of set of three that I'd like to see people using a lot more of. Now, obviously, these are tier 3 commanders. Not everybody's got all the tier 3s, but these three are very, very good commanders, and in particular, they're very good to use together as a set, as sort of whether 2 of them together or 3 of them together, because all of their main sort of ability is that they will buff evil men with defensive stats, and if you put them together, then all of those defensive buffs are just going to start stacking up, and if you then give them equipment that uses command to reduce damage by a flat percentage, so they're getting maybe minus 30% damage received, and then that command equipment that you gave them also has unit defense, and then they're getting sort of plus 12 defense from the crazy cat lady, plus 15 from Sunind, plus 15 from Black Serpent. So and then you give them the thick armor, sort of set bonus. Suddenly that's sort of like 15, 30, 42, 62. That's plus 62 from that's sort of the set bonus and their bonuses, plus 62 on top of whatever the stats are that you're reading on their sort of character screen. That amount just really stacks up very fast, and even if you are just using purples, you can get these commanders using sort of dragoons up to around sort of 200 defense each or higher, and that's at a level where, unless somebody is really maxed out their golds, you are probably going to be decreasing the damage that their sort of Dane or Björn can deal to these commanders by quite a significant amount. And of course, if you've got some gold items that you can put on these commanders instead of just sort of purples, then you can get your defense up even higher, maybe to sort of 250 or maybe even to 300 if you really wanted to. Although you sort of want to spread it out rather than just pumping up one of them as a super tank. But anyway, I'll get more onto the equipment side of things sort of soon. So this is one type of support commander, which is your support commander that's sort of buffing your stats. The second type of support commanders are ones that are more sort of dealing debuffs, or like Sauron, he's throwing out stuns and madness and reducing the enemy commander's stats. So he's reducing the enemy commander's attack by 15%. So if the enemy's Dane has 250 attack, you reduce that by 15. That's minus 37. That's bringing them down to a much sort of lower level. So Yeah, so you've got sort of your different things that you're sort of doing. Also, like say like with Undying, Undying is really really strong because of his evade skill. I see a lot of a lot of players who don't actually utilize his evade skill, and I mean, Undying can be really good as a direct damage commander if you've got the right gear and things for him. But one of the great things about Undying is that his evade skill is really really good, and I mean it's not as good as White Council because White Council scales with gear, and that's great if you've got amazing gear. But even if you don't have amazing gear, if you've only got purples on Undying, he's still giving 90% chance to evade. That's essentially 90% reduced damage for the first 4 hits. Now, White Council does it for the first 8 hits. That's a whole lot better. And if you've got full golds, then full maxed golds, then you'll reduce damage by 70%. But Undying's evade skill is still really, really good. It's just White Council's better. Don't let the fact that White Council is better, sort of prevent you from realizing that Undying's evade ability is really, really good. Yeah. Also, of course, Witch King, his top zero is a really great stun. And the on top of that, he's sort of got his follow-up abilities and things as well. So again, just these support commanders, they're great, and you just give them command abilities, equipment with command and unit defense. So here's some examples. Now, if you don't have, if you can't get sort of all of the items, there are different substitutes you can use. Like, for example, a cutlass is the best sort of purple unit defense item, but a crossbow is the second best if you can't get it to sort of use the set bonus you want. Also, as well, if you can't, for example, I couldn't find a cutlass that has strong armor, thick armor, and as well I ran out of drums of Moria with thick armor. So what I did was I found that I actually had a cask of the Submerged Isle, and I put that on instead with evasion, and then I could still sort of complete a set and really buff up my stats. This is using Vanguard. Their stats are obviously ridiculously high because they're Vanguard, but just when you sort of think that this is 163 already, and then that's before we add in the bonuses. This is 143 here. He's going to get plus 20 from his sort of set, and they're going to, once you add in the sort of the buffs from the other commanders, then they're going to be at sort of over 200 for their defense, which I think is a really good place to be when you're just wearing purples. So those are sort of that's a sort of support commanders. Here's our other support commanders. Now I've actually set up Witch King here for as a troop commander, just for the setup, just because that's just how I set him up. But because I sort of wanted to show a troop commander as well. Now half trolls are aside from maybe say warlords, as a tier 4 sort of unit, half trolls are the best evil unit to use as a damage dealer because of their bleed. Also as well, they're medium, and one of the really big things in the current meta at the moment is that if you use there's sort of like a paper rock scissors a relationship between small, medium, and large units. So medium units do more damage to small, large units do more damage to medium, and small units do more damage to large. However, there are also sort of stat differences which go with these as well. So your small units are very they're very fast and easy to train, but their stats are generally a little bit lower than medium. Medium are faster and easier to train than large. but large generally have more sort of stats to them. And so as a result, if you were using small units and you were fighting against large, you don't actually have an advantage because the large have massively higher stats, and sort of abilities and things. And so, so basically what you generally want to be using is medium, or alternatively be running fell beasts. If you can run fell beasts on everything, that's amazing. But they take a very long time to train, and you need to have camps for them, so it's not really easy. But running Vanguard, Dragoons, Half Trolls, these are units that or the Dragoons at least, you can train in your settlement, and most factions have access to Half Trolls. Vanguard are a little bit trickier to get, but they're sort of like the premier units. I mean, Angmar sort of gets them, but also as well, you've got your general sort of tier 4, your Fallen, or your champions as well. And all of these are medium units. Warlords are also medium units too, and just all of these have great stats. So if you can run all medium units, you sort of you end up with sort of good stats, and you also gain a bonus from using all units of the same type. So you get plus 10 unit defense if you use all medium units, which is a nice buff. These are sort of support units. Notice as well with Sauron, the spec here, very important with this sort of spec. I see a lot of players specking into Lord of Gifts or Golgotha. These are not good abilities to put more points into. 1 out of 10 is all that you need. They are not high damage abilities. Many players think that they remember 1.0 where Sauron was a sort of a direct damage commander. He is not a direct damage commander anymore. He is a support commander. He is definitely support now, not direct damage. And the main set that you want to use with him is this agility set, just so that way he can act before the enemies act, because he's sort of doing madness and things, and it just helps a lot with those abilities. Anyway, so here we've got direct damage commanders. So I've sort of just put in my shadow here. As you can see, right, he's using equipment that's giving him unit commander damage, and it's giving him commander attack. Right, so he's at 201 commander attack plus 20 from his set bonus. It's even though he's using full golds, or sorry, not full golds, 2 purples, 2 golds, but he's in good equipment. And he's going to be at about sort of 220 attack. Now, you think that those commanders that are using all sort of purples, those support commanders, they're going to be at over 200 unit defense, and so they're going to just effectively sort of counter my shadow if they run that, because they're going to be close enough that he's going to have his damage significantly reduced, because their unit defense is close to his unit attack. Saruman here running all of his gold items and stuff. Just again unit damage, commander damage, and he's got his focus stat there as well to sort of boost up his damage. Now, one of the interesting things that I sort of found that is worthwhile looking into is that if you run formations where you have sort of one physical direct damage commander and one focus direct damage commander, then if you were to just make one set of items for physical direct damage, one set of items for focus direct damage, then you just swap the items over. So you can run a second formation wherein you have 2 support commanders and then Lurts instead of 2 support commanders and Shadow, right? And then instead of Saruman, I've got Skullhelm, and I just swap the equipment over, so that way I can sort of I can still keep up with the sort of the stamina usage of keep this sort of not run out of stamina too easily on my sort of formations, and there's not a huge amount of difference between Shadow and Lurtz, between Saruman and Skullhelm. They're different, they're like different flavors of ice cream, but it's still ice cream. They still do the same thing. Their numbers that they pump out are still really similar. They just do it in a slightly different way. Likewise, Agzog and Sestro, just the same deal for them. You can just swap over the equipment for them, and that way you can sort of just really optimize your equipment for one physical direct damage commander and one focus direct damage commander, and then you can still have the utility of having sort of having more stamina to use, because the game gets kind of boring if you run out of stamina. So. You can just swap them over. Just swap over their equipment. You don't even necessarily need to send them home from the fort. You just swap the equipment. Now here are some of the formations that I've been using sort of lately, just to show you the sort of setup there. So you can see there that I've got Shadow there, Lurtz there, Agzog there, Saruman, Skullhelm, Sestro, and then two sort of support commanders with each of the formations to sort of buff them up. And I mean, aside from the level sort of differences here, while I've been testing them, I've found that each of these formations has been very competitive, despite the sort of lower levels on some of the commanders. But I mean, obviously, it's just the levels that makes a difference. But it's still been very competitive. And if I've been using this setup from the start of the season, with sort of with level 40, when everybody's commanders were level 40, then all of these formations would be very, very competitive. Even just with what I've got, they're usually pretty competitive, just because they're set up very well. Because that two support commander setup is really strong, and that's what I sort of recommend running. Is that run two support commanders, one physical direct damage, one focus direct damage. That's easy as pie. Also, this is another setup that I was experimenting with, and I found was really good. And I've just sort of got the sort of numbers there as well from the combat report that they were in, where just running 3 support commanders and then 1 troop commander, Witch King set up as a troop commander in that, and using half trolls on the troop commander is really effective. It's not going to win, right? You're not going to defeat it. You're not going to get a victory. You're going to get a draw almost every time, because it's primarily sort of a defensive setup. But the great thing is that you will get a draw every time, or almost every time. Even with the lower levels, I've had sort of whales and things hit the setup, and I've still ended up getting draws. Against huge whales, I'm not I'm not winning the trade necessarily against huge whales, when they're level 50. But but I have usually still had a draw. But if you sort of run like a setup like this, you can, because it's so sort of defensive, provided that you're not massively outgeared and not massively outleveled, you should be able to win most trades. You should be able to win most trades against most sort of enemy setups, or maybe not win the trades, maybe just draw. But just in general, it's just a very solid setup as a sort of an anchor, for when you want something that's just not going to lose. Anyway, yeah, try it out. Try some of these out. See, if you like them or not. Try some of these setups out. I think that these setups are really good. I think that these are sort of the direction that for evil players should be heading in at the moment. Maybe in the next video, maybe I'll be saying, run three support instead of two support, or run more direct damage commanders, or run more you have to run fell beasts or something. But the how I feel the meta is at the moment, I feel that this is a really sort of strong setup for what I've seen being used on the server that I've been playing on, in at least, and I feel that this is that these are good setups to use. So use sort of dragoons, or if you can't get or otherwise if you've got access to champions, fallen or vanguard, use them instead, and use these sort of great support commanders, two support commanders together, or even three if you want, and then use either a troop commander or a direct damage commander as the either two or three support and one or two damage dealers, and make sure that your support are using command and unit defense. Anyway, I hope I haven't rambled too much. Thanks all for watching. This video is incredibly long, sorry about that, but I hope it's been useful. If you thought it was useful, please tell me that it was useful in the comments. Makes me feel good. And if you thought that it was a bit long, feel free to tell me that too. Anyway, thanks all for watching, and if you like the video, like it. If you don't, don't. If you want to see more like this, subscribe. If you don't, then don't. Thanks all, and I will catch you later. Cheers.